Yeah, everyone. This is Thermite. This is Battle Angel Alita. At the very least, we're going to do the rest of Volume 1. Uh, if you just saw the Volume 1 thing and were wondering, hey, why are you starting at Chapter 2? Well, I read the original, I read Chapter 1 in my compilation series called Chapter 1s, in which I read Chapter 1s of various series. So that'll be down in the description if you want to read just the Battle Angel Alita parts. The timestamp for that will be in the description of that video. So, Battle Angel Alita. If you didn't watch that video, I'll just say I was immediately hooked. I think this is super cool. Like, I don't know. I like the premise. I like the arts. I like Alita herself. I like her relationship with what was his name? Oh, Ito. That was right. Sorry. Yeah, I really like Alita and Ito's sort of relationship. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Hmm. This is some very strange arts. Like, not bad per se, just strange. It reminds me a lot of those sculptures of Atlas holding up the world, except it's just the world itself on 2 feet. I wonder what it means. Like, if I wanted to just throw out a wild guess, I would say it's like movement. Like, the entire world moved at some point. Like, this might not even be Earth. And so this is just like a testament to the idea that, don't worry about this world because we can move what the world is to a different planet. So I don't know if civilization's gone quite that far in the series, but then again, we are quite a ways into the future, if it's even, the future of our timeline. Okay, so she wants to do what Ito's doing. Like, she wants to be a bounty hunter, or I guess in this case, a hunter warrior. And of course, he's not down for that. Again, like, one of the things we do know is that she has incredible combat capabilities. She knows, what was it again? Panzerfaust martial arts? But her body, as it is right now, can't hold up to, the moves she's capable of using, which I think is super cool, right? What good is happiness if it's only given to you? That's not real life, or that's no real life. Hmm. Man, these are so weird. Oh, that's super cool. Like, again, this is very sci-fi feeling. Like, a lot of sci-fi manga that I read aren't that sci-fi. Like, they generally have like one or two really out there ideas. They kind of roll with those, but they don't go like all in with it. They're not like, Ghost of the Shell, for instance. Like, that is a very sci-fi series, or I guess a sci-fi movie that became a sci-fi series. Also, the comedy is great. I'm not your dress-up doll. That is so cool. Like, they have a very like father-child relationship right now. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's not quite right, but it's the closest I can come to what the relationship is. Like, he is very, like, at the very least, I can say he's paternalistic towards her. He wants to protect her. He wants her to grow up as, like, what he envisions her to be, which is, like, this very pristine, beautiful, like, basically a doll. And she's completely against it. She wants to live her own life. She wants to be independent. And, like, even though she doesn't have memories of who she used to be, she has hints. Like, she still has her personality and she still has those martial arts skills. I think this is absolutely really cool. Everything else is the hard parts. Hmm. Also, I'm wondering if these are like AI, because we know that Alita is a cyborg. So maybe this is also like cybernetic. Hmm. I'm doing it for my own sake. This is true. Like, it really is. In the end, she is doing it for her. Like, she's basically just going to do what Ito did, except she wants to do it herself instead of, relying on him to buy new parts for her. And then I suppose if she's the one who buys parts, she can also choose if she wants to get like more weapons based parts. Whereas in chapter 1, we saw that Ito bought those like really ornate arms that were from that one victim. Uh oh no. Okay, so it's also really interesting that like this punk is the one sweating when he says, it's not for sale. Yeah, whoever this is the real dude, like, pulling the strings here. Oh boy. Oh, endorphin junkie. Oh, okay, so he's literally eating brains for the endorphins within them. That is nuts. Also, my gosh, this is a really well-drawn brain. Like, I don't know that much about Alita. Like, I don't know when exactly it came out, but this feels very, like, it feels very, like, 80s OVA, specifically. I know a lot of those OVAs were based on, like, series running at the time, but, like, if you see something like Violence Jack, for instance, that was based on a manga with a very distinct stylized, like, way of drawing gore and whatnot. And that translates to the OVA, but the OVA is more detailed because of, all of that bubble economy money. This feels kind of like the opposites. Like, this is super detailed. I mean, I can imagine an OVA, like, replicating this, but okay, it would have to be an OVA in the 80s. Like, I don't even think a modern OVA would be able to draw something like this unless it was CG. They just don't have the money for that nowadays. This is also very, like, Venom-esque. The whole idea of he eats brains because they have a certain chemical in them. Like, it's just slightly justified, but for the most part, it's just terrifying. Okay, this is actually really cool. Like, I like how he's, like, venting his rage here. He is genuinely really mad, but at the same time, like, he is, like, understanding it. I mean, when I read this in my head, I imagine that he's a bit cocky or, a little bit sarcastic. But at the same time, I do think he is genuine. Like, he really is thinking, like, yeah, I should have never have tried to control your life. Like, yeah, in the end, she isn't something that he owns. Even if he found her in, like, a scrapyard and, like, revived her, even if he does have that, like, that sort of, again, like, that very parental role in her life. In the end, like, he shouldn't be the one who decides everything about her. Panzerkunst, that was it, not Panzerfaust. Yeah. Even if she doesn't have her memories, she still has, like, there's still a part of her that is still there, and that's all she has to go off of right now. Isn't entirely for your sake. Right. Like, because he seems to be, getting all this money, we can tell that he's been, like, amping it up ever since he got Alita in order to buy all of her, parts and whatnot. But, like, in chapter 1, it was specifically said, you've been really raking them in, like, you've been doing a lot more than usual. So clearly, he was a hunter warrior for a while, anyways. I'm a self centered man who kills for pleasure, and I didn't want you to know that about me. Okay, I could definitely see that. Like, specifically the way he phrased, I didn't really bring it up, but at the very start, when he says, like, I would gladly feel their blood on my face, it's like, that's a very strange way of putting it if it's like a curse. If it was something like, I would hear their screams at night, then it would be like, okay, that's something that's really, horrible. But the way he phrases it there, it makes it sound like a burden, but it also, like, it's very strange. I don't think someone would say it like that if it was meant to sound like a burden to them specifically. So it does feel like it's both. And so this makes a lot of sense. That yeah, he does genuinely just want to kill. Like, he enjoys it. He's not a murderer. He does, like, within the confines of the law. But in the same way, like, it doesn't mean that he thinks it's a noble thing. He's like, no, I am doing it because I enjoy it, not because not because it benefits society. I just enjoy it. And the fact that it is permitted and that I can make a living off of it is it's a benefit. But it's not the only thing. Also, sorry, I just realized that that I was using the wrong setting for my face cam down there. My apologies. This is really interesting though. Like, again, he's being paternalistic, but he's not, like, sugarcoating it. One of the reasons why he's worried about Alita specifically because he knows that yeah, he likes hunting because he kills for pleasure. So if that's the case with him, like, what is it for her? If she's going to be a hunter, like, what drives her? Because in the end, like, just wanting to fight people is not a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you can always sublimate that into something better, but it's still, like, it's definitely something that you should be concerned about. It's not normal, or it's not something that is necessarily a good thing. Ah, man, I really like her giant hair, especially because of a shot like this, where, like, literally her hair takes up the entire panel, and it gives her, it's just like darkness. That is so cool. That is so actually cool. Again, this feels like a trend. Like, I guess I've read multiple series as of late where one of the characters is like inhuman, because I love this concept of just having a main character that you can destroy or that you can have horrible things happen to, and like they'll still be around afterwards. But like you can do something like this. You can have her be torn apart. You can have like metallic gore, for lack of a better term, just fly everywhere. That is incredibly cool. And unlike most of the series I'm talking about, like I'm thinking specifically of Golem Hearts and Mary Grave. Those are two shonen series that do something like that. Like they have characters who can be destroyed and be fixed later on. Both of those allow it, they do it so that you can create gore where gore is not permitted. But with Alita, like gore is absolutely permitted. So this is just a more, I don't know, like I don't even want to say it's tasteful. I just think it's more that like because gore is allowed, it's no longer like a thing for shock value. Like sure, there's always going to be shock value and like smashing someone's head off. But because of that, you can tell that this isn't meant to be like a replacement for gore. The fact that, if a cyborg is torn apart, you could include like, bloody organs and whatnot if you wanted to. But they're choosing to make Alita mostly mechanical, specifically because it just like it gives off a different feel if she's torn apart and there's just like, metal going everywhere instead of blood. I think that's really cool. And also like just the sheer detail in it is so amazing. I'm also like, I don't know this for certain because we haven't seen much of her like this. There's that one spread in chapter one, I guess, where like she's got the wings. But I would also guess that most of her internal organs are going to be consistent, or like her internal machinery. Like every time she's torn apart, it's probably going to look something like this, or like all these pieces are going to be like visibly similar. It's not going to be random every time. If that's the case, I'll be super like just excited for it. What has value? Oh man, that is beautiful. I really like this like mechanical pattern on the inside of her hair. Ah, I really like the muted colors of this series, by the way. Like every time we get a color shot, it's never just like vivid color. It's always like there's a vague, like I guess sepia filter over it, or not even a filter. I assume it was drawn with these colors specifically. Like they weren't drawn one way and then like filtered. But I really like it. It gives it this very, I guess, very cyberpunk feel to it. I guess with cyberpunk, I think it's mostly just it's more just a dark filter rather than a sepia filter. But this makes it feel very classic. Like he looks so inhuman there, even though this should all be like human flesh. I mean, I assume it is. It's just he's so roided out at this point that it looks completely inhuman. Oh, that is so cool. Oh my gosh, is she gonna deliver the killing blow like this? Oh my gosh. Okay, not quite killing blow, but she definitely took out an eye. To have more brains. She has a brain right though. Like as we saw, most of her body is purely mechanical, but she's a cyborg and not an android, so I assume there's got to be a brain in there. Oh my gosh. I really like the way this is drawn, like this rocket sledgehammer specifically, because it doesn't feel like a like what most people think of when you think of like a anime rocket sledgehammer. Like the one I always think of is a certain character from Nanoha, or like because it's a magical girl series, it's a very big rocket sledgehammer. But this is basically just a normal looking sledgehammer that happens to have a small engine on the back. Like, it's so understated that it looks super cool. Oh, wow. Okay, so he can move around like a snake like that. That is super cool, though. Like, that is definitely. I guess if only your brain or like only your head is still human, then it would make sense to do something like this. So, like, last case scenario or, worst case scenario, you can just pop out your head and your spine, then like slither away. And then I guess if you have like multiple bodies, you can then like just plug and play it basically. Just pull the head out and stick into another one. Oh, that's really interesting. My intellect is bound to whatever body my head inhabits. For as Nietzsche said, the spirit is but a plaything of the body. Oh, that's a very Ghost in the Shell kind of thing to say. Like, not really. Ghost in the Shell doesn't really posit that the body like restricts the mind. It's kind of the opposite, even. Like that series is all about the mind being completely separate, and like, well, what is the mind, or what is consciousness once you reduce it down to zeros and ones. This is a really cool kind of reversal of that. The idea that literally, like, if he has like giant body like that, then he can't like think anymore. Like if he has a dumb hulking body, then his brain becomes dumb and hulking. That's very interesting. Also, these are definitely not from the original Japanese, right? I've seen at least two of them now that just would not like. It's not they wouldn't make sense. It's just I wouldn't imagine that they would like bother putting that in, which is really weird because there was one that was like specifically referring to something in universe, as far as I can tell. Also, it looks like he's pure human, or at the very least, like his chest is not cyborg. Although he is like, if he was human, or like if he was perfectly human, then I don't think he'd be able to even do this, right? Ah, he's literally dying. But when he saw her fall, he like dove further to catch her head. My gosh. Which each, with each step growing further from my dream for you. Oh my gosh. So this is a really cool way to do it. Like at the same time, he's accepted her fate and her desire. While at the same time, he understands, well, Makaku is going to come back eventually and try to kill her. So, like, now it's for certain. He's dead, but she's not. Like, she needs to be strong enough to fight him at the very least. If not, if not becoming a hunter warrior, then at the very least, she needs the strength to fight him specifically. And he's at the top. Like, he's been on the wanted list for years. So, but at the same time, giving her that power means that she can never be what he wanted her to be. Or at the very least, like, with his final breath, he's going to give her something that he desperately did not want her to have. I mean, if we're looking at him as a father figure, then I think he's a pretty good one. Like he's willing to say, "Well, I didn't want this for you, but what you need is more important than what I wanted. There's no single thing in this world that's worth risking your life for. Nothing except for what you've built up on your own. And for me, that would be you." That is honestly incredible. Like especially since again, she isn't 100% something that he built. But then again, I mean, that's children too. Like even if a child is literally something that you and your spouse or you and, whoever like donated the extra portion from, or even if you adopted a kid, like I feel like it's all mostly the same. Even if the kid is biological, even if you built it, quote unquote, you still never get to build them up on your own. They like no matter what, that kid has an independent like conscience of their own or consciousness of their own. They're always going to be building themselves up to some extent. So I guess it is the same. Like regardless of whether you adopt or whether you have a kid of your own, or in this case, if you find someone in the junkyard and you fix them up, like in the end, they're going to have these impulses that are completely their own, that are out of your control. And like if you want to claim that they are, your own, they are something that you built, then you can. But at the same time, they're going to have their own independence. I think it's incredibly cool that, at the very end, he was able to respect her desire to be independent while also, like, respecting that, well, what I wanted is both not something that can happen now and is also something that should not happen if she wants to thrive. All right, I'm talking in circles again, so let's keep going. Are these her original memories, though? Because, man, she kind of went back to where she started. Yeah, because, yeah, she's way younger than she was back then. Also, she's not cyborg. That might have been her then. Or is she conflating, like, her childhood with, when she was found this time? I don't think we can tell right now. I mean, it could just be a dream, literally. Oh my gosh, okay, he's alive. Okay, I'm very happy about that. Some quack could have scooped you up and converted you into a cyborg. Right, yeah. That makes sense. Like, it's basically just servitude at that point. It does imply, though, that it's, like, I guess it might just be the consciousness part of it. Like, at this point, we probably don't have AI. It makes sense that like, well, for the average person at the very least, it would be better to just like get a cyborg and turn them into a slave, or like get a human being, turn them into a cyborg, and then turn them into a slave, than to just build a full robot that does what that human was going to do. Also, I really like Gon's design. Like, I really like how like he's missing that entire part of his scalp. Like, it gives him a very unique design. My gosh, okay. A berserker body. Okay. So that's just the English definition of berserker. That's pretty good. Also, that's making me think I'm gonna have to read chapter 1 again. That might like the thing I thought was just an in-universe thing might be something in the real world then. Oh, that's okay. Okay, that's really cool. So we kind of have a Warhammer 40k system in place where Like at one point, humanity was super, super advanced, far beyond normal people right now. But then, like something happened, it turned back the clock when it comes to like innovation, and so this world has like super advanced technology that no one understands. In addition to the technology we do understand, like this is also very much a 40K concept. Like not really, not really. Like 40K has like the Space Marines and whatnot. Like I guess this is sort of like an Adeptus Mechanicus sort of thing. The idea of just take the brain, put it into a giant put it into a robot body and have it fight or have it do things that a normal flesh person can't. I guess it's more of a just a general dark fantasy thing or dark sci-fi thing. She knows how to use power, and the only thing I do for her now is to give her that power. Oh, okay, that's really cool. Oh, that's really cool, actually. See, something like this, like variable muscle structure and then cyber position, the fact that those are defined makes me feel like either those are like, those have to be just established terms, right? Because there's no reason to like put in notes for these, especially because they kind of explain themselves more or less. But the fact that the notes are here means they have to be from somewhere else. Like, they have to be things that, some people would understand before having read Alita. And therefore, like, someone thought, okay, we should put in notes here to make it, to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Don't need to know any of that. I want to be Alita. You're Alita. But at the same time, you don't want that, right? That's a super cool visual. I really like that. I do like that this was very much a dream with, like, with dream logic. Something about that just makes me really happy. It's a success. Okay, I'm very happy about this because now we get to see like Alita's battle abilities without any restrictions whatsoever. But then there's also this danger of the cyborg body or like the berserker body, which is clearly designed to mess with the brain. So will she be able to control it, or will it like actually go berserk at some point? Maybe both. Well, I wouldn't want it to be like a death sport, but I really do want it like fights like this to exist in the future. Like, one thing I've always disliked about wrestling is that it isn't fake enough. As crazy as that sounds. Like, I really do like the spectacle of wrestling because it is some of the last like live theater that the masses enjoy right now. And I've always thought that was super cool. Like when I learned that wrestling was fake, that was when I decided, oh, I want to start watching wrestling. And the only thing is that like I wish wrestling had like more theatrics. Like a lot of it comes down to just like, well, you guys know that this is, fake and that we're all being paid by the same person, whatnot. So let's meld that into the theatrics so you can't tell what is real and what isn't. And that leads to a lot of very realistic kayfabe, or the fakery behind the scenes, the storyline. But I don't want that. I want characters like the Undertaker. I want people who are just utterly insane, like that one guy from Lucha Underground that is literally a dragon. And so in the future, I would love to have just both wrestling that has like, more special effects or like, more CGI involved. And then at the same time, I would like if people can be cybernetically enhanced, I would love that. Like I don't want anyone to get seriously hurt, but I would love to see people just, do things that are impossible for other humans to do. That's already kind of the appeal of wrestling, is the idea of, these larger than life figures duking it out, going far beyond what a normal person could possibly do in a fight. In a way that MMA doesn't really quite scratch. MMA is mostly just dudes like hugging for a while. Anyways, I should probably keep on going. This is gonna be a long reaction. Try me on, bring me a tougher. All right, next time you try me on, bring a tougher body. Now they will belong to Makaku. Gwahaha. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Makaku is gonna be way stronger than he was before. Oh man, I really do like that though. The idea that he was willing to like pull off a suicide move rather than leave this body to a crazy person trying to take it over. Didn't quite work, but still. All right. This is also a very scary thing to do now because Makaku's kind of like he's not the best of the best, but he's incredibly good. And now he's in a body that is also just like really is the best of the best. So if Alita can stand up to this, it's going to be worrisome to figure out where the series goes from there. Like, it does feel very old school sci-fi, so a lot of it might not be fighting, but it feels like it's going to be, especially since she is the battle angel. It's a horrid sound, like the screaming of a great mass of people. Hmm, that's really interesting. She does. She really does seem more mature like this. Hmm. Yeah, this is a worrisome thing. Like, again, we have this idea that the body affects the minds, which also, I just realized, this could possibly change Makaku. Like, he had that very big, dumb body, and that made him very big and dumb. But this is the body of a warrior, someone who is also very noble. So, is it possible that this body's going to, like, mess with Makaku? I do legitimately believe that, this more mature body is probably, like, allowing her mind to work at its full potential. Yeah, no one's down for this. Everyone is, well, either scared of Makaku or they're just like, well, nope, not worth it. It's a waste of money. Some pro you are. Oh my gosh, she is really going in on him. All right, okay, we're getting a bar fight. Oh my gosh. Okay, I love her so far. This is also a really good way to show off just how good she is without having her fight Makaku first. Also, I really do like that the place is called Kansas, because this feels very Western. Oh man, okay, this is fantastic. Again, I don't really care for fight scenes most of the time, but man, this is really, really good. She feels almost weightless with how good she is at this. Like, she's so graceful. I love it. Well, graceful and also just insanely strong. Oh, that is some gag physics. I love it. Like, they literally just became a ball that flew out of the bar. Miss Alita. Okay. Oh no, it's him. Nope, it's not Kinuba. Definitely not Kinuba. That's so funny. He wrote Makaku on his back before taking his brain. That's kind of amazing. My gosh. Also, I guess this might mean that there's going to be a lot less competition, since I assume he also killed a bunch of the ones outside. Ah. Okay, I really like your hair there. Like, this is also something really cool about long hair. I don't see a lot of series like go between these though. Like, there's always the option of going from like pure black to just super detailed. They're just like showing like not every individual strand, but just a ton of strands. I mean, some series do it like they do a midpoint where like it's either pure black or like there's some shading on it, and then you can see all the strands. But I find that this doesn't show up very often outside of like really artsy books that are specifically like that specifically have very sketchy design. But I really like that Alita is willing to do something like this without making the entire like scene sketchy. Oh, it looks so good. Oh my gosh. I am in love with her hair. Trap at the mouth of hell. Also, my god, look at the shading on this. Like, look at the detail in general, I guess, not just the shading. Ah, like it looks so rocky. That is incredible. Oh, that is so cool. Now I need to know though, when did Battle Angel Alita come out? Okay, 1990. Fair enough. Okay, so the reason I was wondering was that I was wondering, like, is it old enough that they wouldn't have been able to do this digitally? And no, in the 90s they could have. It wouldn't have been common, but they absolutely could have done this as like pixel art. Ah, my gosh. Like, also the fact that the series itself, like the fact that we switched from this lavishly detailed like color to this, which is also in color but not lavishly detailed at all. That is very, very digital. it really helps to like cement the fact that yes, this is something that is intentional. It's not like it's not that this had to look this bad. It looks this bad. I'm gonna say like bads in air quotes because it isn't like it honestly doesn't look bad at all. I really like the way this is drawn. I think it has like I think it is very appealing. The reason it looks so pixely is completely intentional. And the fact that this is so drawn so gorgeously is like a counterpoint that proves that yes, it could be gorgeous if they wanted it to be gorgeous. But no, it's intentionally very pixely. Oh my gosh. That is horrifying. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a brilliant idea, but it is a grisly idea. Yeah, you're kind of messed up. That's really cool. Like, it's not a deep backstory, but it's actually a very clear one. And it is a very, like, philosophical one. The idea that, yeah, like, he inflicts fear and pain on others in order to escape his own. We never need to actually see, like, where his own fear and pain, like, stems from. But just that knowledge is all we really need to know. Like, that is a powerful motivating force. The idea of, well, I have to do this to someone or else it's going to happen to me. It's a very old concept. A lot of people believe that's how curses starts. Like the magical idea of "Yeah, I need to do this to someone. I need to pass it on. That whole like that chainmail mentality. A lot of people think it's like this thing that's ingrained into the human consciousness. This idea of if I want to rid myself of my own pain, I have to inflict that pain on someone else, and then mine will go away. Or in order to get rid of my sickness, I should give it to someone else. Or even this idea of how did I get the sickness? Oh, someone must have sent it to me, not in the virus sense of it just, they were sick and then they gave it to me and then like, they were getting better as I, started to get worse because I just caught it. It's more this idea of, oh, they're getting better while I'm getting worse. They must be transmitting it to me or they must have like sent it to me. It's it's so like deeply human. I think that's so cool that a character like this who feels so very inhuman is like, driven by something so like primal. Ah, okay. Can she deal with the grind cutter? The almighty, all-powerful king of worms. Oh, she's running alongside it. Yeah, he's got 5 to deal with. Oh, yeah. Okay, no, how? Hmm. Is Makaku in love with Alita? That is, that's a very, like, interesting way of looking at it. The idea that he's teasing her because he likes her. Like that whole thing about, "Oh, I want to tear you apart and then put you on a pendant forever." Like that is kind of just a very warped, like decision. Like it's a warped way of saying "I love you." Oh, that's so weird to think about. Man, that is so interesting. Like he's gone from a character I assumed would just be like a one and done villain to, I mean, he might still be one and done, but he's so much more interesting than I thought he was going to be. Ugh. And like the fact that the series and also Makaku himself is willing to do goofy things like this, or like, writing his signature on someone's back before taking their brain. Like he's literally willing to eat a baby right now. My gosh. Hmm. Okay. Uh, sucks for the guys who died, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I guess that makes sense if you're basically a bounty hunter, or a hunter warrior. I mean, she's not wrong. She could leave. She genuinely couldn't, but I can see how, like, in her mind, she definitely can't. She's got to do it now. She's too good to let that baby die. This is really interesting, though. Like, again, I assume that the scrapyard, or, like, just the Earth in general, if this is even Earth, was abandoned by, those who now float above it. And that's why we have all this infrastructure here. Like, obviously, this wouldn't be the infrastructure for a scrapyard. But if it's like, the sewers of a civilization, or this might even be part of a civilization, but I assume these are all like sewers. I love that, like, the way that she can just casually like stab through things to show her strength. That is so cool. But again, even if you're strong, that doesn't mean you can ignore the laws of physics. Oh, that was so cool. Like that made her feel very like non-superhero-y. The fact that, oh, you can stab yourself into there, but that doesn't mean that you're not gonna you might just take the entire thing down. Like you still have to deal with, momentum and whatnot. Also the fact that I assume she's having trouble pulling her hand out. That's also really cool. If you're good at your jobs, this wouldn't be a problem. I really do like this though. Like the fact that he genuinely does appreciate the fact that she went down there to save the baby, but at the same time, like he's worried for her. He is genuinely just a nice dude. Oh, that is so cool. Like one thing I don't like about post-apocalyptic series and also just like cyberpunk in general is the very like I don't know, the very cynical view it has on the worlds, which is very easy to do. Like it's very easy to take a genre that deconstructs human beings, makes them machines, makes them, just parts. It's very easy to take that and then be cynical about the world when you talk about it. I think it's so much more difficult and more interesting to give it a positive spin or to just present, an equal, balanced world. It's infinitely easier to make everyone horrible. Okay, this is also really interesting. Like the fact that we don't fully understand her body, the fact that it is so much more advanced than anything that any of our current cast has like, ever even seen before means that like we can have something like this where it's like, yeah, she does have this power buried within her, like not just within her mind, but also just within this body that isn't hers. Right. And this would make sense. Like if this was meant to just be a body given to like random, like not civilians, but random soldiers who just had their brains plugged into it and were then immediately considered to be, like, okay, it's plug and play. You take the brain, you put it in this body can now fight on the battlefield. And you don't need to train them or anything. In that case, it would make sense that you wouldn't need to have like a lot of training to activate the battle mode. I just hope the battle mode doesn't like override Alita. I hope that it doesn't like make her something. I hope it doesn't make her something she doesn't want to be. My body's trembling with the sensation of life. Oh, that is super cool. Like I think genuinely she is feeling fulfilled now. Like whatever she is, whatever her real identity is, like there is part of her that is a fighter. Now she has a real fight to get into. Like she has a purpose now. She has like a way, like she has a problem that can be solved explicitly with violence. And for someone who seems to have like this very powerful inclination towards violence, I imagine that would feel really good. Yeah, obviously a trap, but there's no helping it. Hmm. This is his hometown. So like he was born in the sewers. Hmm. The remains of a great city from the long distant past. Okay, so it's not just the sewer system. Right. Or not village water trickles down here. Oh, that's a really cool way of putting it, though. I've lived off of the sheer rotten corruption of everyone else above me. And this idea that, yeah, even the scrapyard itself is above him. Like, even the scrapyard is privileged compared to him, the way that he grew up. Because at least, they get first dibs on all the stuff that falls from the sky. These guys get nothing. They get the dregs of the dregs. Oh, what a way of putting it. So, yeah, she just. That is incredible. Like, just that idea in general of flushing like a newborn baby down the toilets, or even like, a premature baby potentially. And just the way that affected him. The idea that, yeah, from birth, like someone had to have, I guess, taken care of him when he was super young. But after that, like, I can completely understand his motivations now. I don't really sympathize with him, but I understand him at the very least. Like I empathize with him. Also, I guess this also plays into this whole like eating brains thing. Like it's not just that, he hurts people in order to like calm the hurt inside of him, But it's also just like, at that point, why wouldn't you get addicted to something? Like, I don't want to moralize about drugs. That is like, as much as I could, I don't feel comfortable doing that because I am ignorant compared to a lot of other people when it comes to like just the subject of any like serious hard drug. But I can say at the very least that if eating brains gave you, a high powerful enough to quiet, the pain and suffering in your minds, then I could definitely see how someone would get addicted to eating brains. Oh man, Fang's really putting in work. Oh gosh. Umph. But yeah, that makes sense. So the brains. Oh yeah, we actually talked about that before. The whole idea of like, oh, that's really clever. Yeah, yeah, because like the brains are literally a like an opioid. So for him specifically, eating them is like, like taking heroin or taking like a painkiller in general. It's not just the high, it's also just that, it is like it's actually helping with the pain. Your only opponent is me. Oh my gosh. What is happening? Like, I assume this is like her trying to psych herself up and get into battle mode. But this looks like it's actually on fire, or like at the very least her outfit is disintegrating. Oh man. Was that just a burst of heat, I suppose? Oh man. Battle Angel. Also, I mean, as much as I didn't want to say the series is going to be a fighting series, I just realized the chapter titles are fights and then underscore, so it's probably a fighting series. If the name Battle Angel Alita didn't give it away. Ah, hmm. Okay, yeah. So that isn't something that she did specifically. It's probably the body itself doing that. So that's really interesting that like the body would be programmed to do this. Like, yeah, I do know it has an actual purpose. Like, it the dark paint or mud or whatever absorbs light, so it makes it easier to see. It gets rid of some of the glare. It seems surprising that they would still be doing that in whatever century this body came from, as opposed to like secreting something. Though I suppose like mud is everywhere, whereas you could run out of secretions. So I guess it makes more sense to keep doing that no matter what era it is. Hmm. Oh, that's really cool. Huh. Oh, control the foot. That is super cool. So she's basically creating a like a plasma sword out of nowhere, or not out of nowhere, but like it is just straight up. She can generate a plasma sword with her fingers. That is insane. Oh, that is actually incredibly cool. Right. Long range. If she gets in close, you are dead. She can cut right through you like butter. Oh, right. Of course. Oh my gosh. Oh. Whoa, 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 whoa. She landed on top of him. My gosh. And just that. She is on top of your head. Game over, master. Is he the one who's going to call her angel for the first time? Hmm. Oh, okay. Is he banking it on the idea that he can swim but she can't? Or is it just that, he's going to calm down and just, go with the flow because he knows where they'll end up? Also, my gosh, this is. Yeah, I hope they're going to be all right, but I mean, uh, hopefully. Like, they're far enough away that it doesn't really affect them, but still. Hmm. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. It's purely physical. What was that about game over? You worthless excuse for a computer. God, blah, blah, blah. What a laugh. Oh, that is really cool. Oh my gosh, that is super clever. Like, I am absolutely loving the logic of the fight so far. So yeah, that's it. Okay. Okay, so they are cyborg processors. I was very confused about that. Or not confused, but I was very curious about it. So I guess this does confirm, like, those were the one things that could have been an AI. At this point, I have to assume then that there is no such thing as, like, an AI advanced enough to do, like, to automate things, basically. Like, if you want something done, then you've got to basically use a cyborg. Whether that's, someone voluntarily giving up their brain, or if you have to, like, enslave them. But, like, it has to be a human brain. Right. They are essentially Zalamite slaves, robots with no human desires or free will. Like, they are human beings. They have human brains, but they don't have free will anymore for whatever reason. I assume eventually that'll be explained. Like, I assume it's just torture. Or, like, just reprogramming. Yep. This is definitely a series where, like, I don't feel scared about the idea of, oh, this mystery probably won't be solved. It feels like it's absolutely going to be resolved as the series goes on. Birth of Deckman number 10. Oh my gosh, that is dark as fuck. Want to forget the troubles of your life? Just become a deckman. Orphans and suicidal especially welcome. For my own reasons. I wonder. I genuinely wonder. Also, this is really cool because it's not 4 coma. I went to it assuming it was a 4 coma, but no, it's a 5 coma. I mean, I guess you could consider it to be a 4 coma in terms of the like the structure of it. Like, this is your start, this is the this is the lead in, this is the big twist, and this is the resolution. It's just that, this is made as 2 separate panels, but it's basically one in terms of what happens. Hmm. This is something where I genuinely do believe we're going to get the answer to this, though. Like, it seems very comedic, but this seems like the kind of series where even the comedic things are going to play directly into what is going to happen in the future, which I'm super excited about. Like, everything about the series makes me so happy. Oh, I didn't know that. The portmanteau of the country characters were Gun and Dream. Really? Okay, I've seen this word before in, like, reference to Alita, but I've never understood it. So, okay, that's actually what the series is called. Hmm, that's really neat. Also, I like that they specifically, like, mentioned the live action film when, like, the film has not come out yet. I know this is a new translation. This is the version that came out in 2017, so they are, like, talking about it. But it is, it's so cool that they referenced it without the movie having come out yet. Like, they're doing it entirely on just the faith that it's finally going to happen. And it's been talked about since the 90s. So, man, like, anything that shows that level of faith is super cool. And to sound like demon horns. Oh, that's really cool. So, like, throughout the entire manga, we would have just seen Makaku without knowing what the kanji was supposed to look like. Like, it would just be spelled out as, Makaku. But then this one time, it's basically a pun. Like, this could just be like him coming up with a cool way of writing it, but still, I really like that. I do wish they would have like explained all of these in line, but I'm okay with the fact that they didn't. It's just this is annoying. I would always prefer it if you just do it on the page. I'm gonna have to keep this list, by the way, or I might use this to make a compilation because I know there are certain like things on the web right now that are really good when it comes to lists of sound effects, but I'm really bad with like actually trying to figure them out. So it might be nice to have these just to know like, oh, this is probably a sound or like, oh, this is a sound I could use. Okay, so that was Battle Angel Alita Volume 1, except for Chapter 1. Rusty Angel definitely fits it because yeah, she was real rusty. And I guess that also kind of speaks to like the cyberpunk theme of the series in general. Uh There's not a whole lot I want to say about it apart from just I was blown away by it. I really liked chapter 1, but even that it wasn't misleading. It's just like it didn't reveal the full scope of how much I would love the series. I am so happy that I picked it up. I'm probably going to read volume 2 right now actually. Yeah, I've got time. Uh I kind of hope that Makaku stays around, but this is a series where I don't think he will. Like, I think we've gotten enough development from him that he'll probably just die. And like the themes that he brought up will probably like carry on through other characters, but I don't think he's necessary. In fact, I'd be a little disappointed if he stayed around because as much as I'm interested in him, I'm not that interested. I'm not interested enough where it's like, oh, he should be a main character. He's just a really, really good like first villain, I suppose. Like not including chapter one, like the first ongoing villain. Well, that's me, Battle Angel Alita. I am so excited to keep on going. So, that's all for now, but not for always, I guess. I need to stop trying to come up with like special endings to this. I should just go with the tried and true. Yeah, yeah.